Hey, welcome back, rebooters, to my video coaching series. If you haven't been here before, my name is Noah Church. I am a recovery coach for those struggling with pornography addiction and/or porn-induced sexual dysfunctions. I'm an author of Whack, Addicted to Internet Porn, and I'm a public speaker on this issue. So today, recently I've been getting a lot of clients who are recovering from these porn-related issues within a relationship. So that's been at the forefront of my mind. So today's topic is 3 tips, both for porn addicts and those struggling with porn personally, who are recovering within a relationship. They want to know how to navigate that, how to talk to their partner, how to foster a healthy relationship through this process. And also 3 other tips for partners of porn addicts or those struggling with porn on how to best navigate that emotionally, how to talk about it, how to deal with the traumas that arise for them within this recovery, and how to best support their partner and maximize the potential of their relationship in this process. All right, let's get started. Now, I'm going to be talking about the porn addict or the person with the problem with porn as if they are a male, just because that's the typical scenario, and the partner as if they are a female. But we all know it can be reversed. There can be non-heteronormative relationships, all of that. So I'm not trying to be exclusive with the language here. It's just, well, that's how I usually deal with it. Those are the clients that I usually get. All right, we're going to start with a letter from a woman who wrote to me about her struggle dealing with pornography addiction in her boyfriend's life and within their relationship. She says, "Hi Noah, I just wanted to say thank you for what you do. I've been following you for a while and just listened to this podcast and really liked it." She's talking about Love People Use Things, a podcast I co-host with Matt Frad. "Like you said, it has helped me understand my loved one better. My boyfriend revealed to me that he is a porn addict 2 years ago, and we have been really struggling because of it. I wish there was something more I could do for him, but he is just not ready to do what is necessary to heal. I wish I knew how to handle this situation better. Do you have any content or tips for partners that are dealing with a porn addict? I'm open to anything I can do to understand him better and help him get through this. Thank you." All right, first tip, I'm going to go through the tips for partners first. The first tip is your partner who is struggling with porn, in order to make a permanent change, the impetus, the motivation for them to change has to come from within. If it feels like they're only trying to limit their use of pornography or alter their behavior in other ways because it hurts you, because you're trying to push them in that direction, probably there's not going to be a lasting permanent change. And I know that's hard to hear. It's a hard reality to face, but there is hope. What we can do is share information about the true impacts of pornography on our personal lives and our relationships with that loved one who is struggling with porn. Share that information in a loving way, talk about it in a non-blaming, non-shaming sort of way, and hopefully they will see through learning from that material and through doing research of their own that they indeed want to live a porn-free life. If they can, or if he can, get to that point where he wants to live a porn-free life, and he might still struggle with relapse, urges, temptations. He'll maybe have weeks at a time where he's able to stay clean and then something happens and he slips again. All that is normal within a recovery, but he has to really want to be porn-free and want to stand up and try again every time he slips and falls down. Not just for you and for your relationship to spare you the pain of living with a boyfriend who has a sexual dysfunction or just an addiction to pornography that hurts you. That is a motivating factor, but it can't be the only one. He has to want to live a porn-free life for himself. And once he does want that, then you can do a lot more to support him. But until that moment, all you can do is learn everything that you can learn and try to share that information with him in a non-aggressive way. And hopefully he will recognize in those stories from other addicts bits and pieces of his own life. And that will impel him to do his own research and come to his own conclusions. Now, if you've done all you can, you've shared everything you can with him, and he's still just not there, then you might have to accept that. about him, that he might never be there. He might never be at that point. And you have to determine for yourself if that's a relationship you want to stay in. I know that sounds harsh, but that's the reality. We have to set up our own boundaries and lovingly support those that are in our lives. But if they're not giving us what we need personally, then we have to decide at that point to move on or not. All right, tip number two for partners is to hold them accountable and responsible for their actions. Just because he may be an addict doesn't mean that he has no control or no responsibility for what he does. Now, we shouldn't just completely blame the addiction for every current action that he takes, right? It's not a get out of jail free card. Now, what we shouldn't do is blame that person for becoming an addict, for getting addicted in the first place. Often guys and women too are exposed to pornography very early on in life, either intentionally or unintentionally, and it's very addictive. It's designed to hook us and to make us want to come back for more again and again. And the vast majority of us were not warned about the very real dangers to our health that pornography use, especially internet pornography use, can have on us. And without that warning, we get hooked, we keep going back for more, and that addiction develops without us ever having the knowledge that would have allowed us to defend ourselves and make more rational, intelligent, and beneficial choices for our own lives. And often, guys might be 9, 10, 11, 12 years old when they're first getting hooked on porn. You can't expect them at that age to make the right choices in that regard, especially without the right information. So he's not to blame for becoming an addict, and he shouldn't be shamed for that, but he is accountable and responsible now that he hopefully knows better, knows about the impacts of pornography, knows that he wants to leave them behind, leave that life, that porn-filled life behind. He's now responsible for his actions, responsible for participating in his own rescue. Now, that doesn't mean that if he slips, that he was doing the wrong thing or that he was failing. Sometimes it takes a few slips to learn from and to experiment with what works, to really start to understand ourselves and what we need in order to stay clean. And that's often part of the process. But he must commit to learning from those slips and mistakes and moving forward with a new intention to remain porn-free. So hold him accountable, but don't blame or shame him for ending up where he is now. Tip number 3 for partners. Try to understand the emotional difficulty and turmoil that addiction brings upon the addict, and especially an addiction like this that can result in a sexual dysfunction. Now, whether it's good or bad, a lot of our pride as men and our sense of masculinity is tied up in our sexuality, our ability to perform in the bedroom and please our woman. And when we can't do that, when pornography use has taken that from us and we have porn-induced ED or another sexual dysfunction, it can be crippling to a man's self-esteem and self-worth. And in a relationship, he has to feel safe. He has to feel like he's accepted and loved and wanted no matter what his penis does at any given moment. So it's going to be crucial for you to make him feel comfortable just being intimate with you, no matter how his penis reacts, and maintain that intimate connection, that fun-loving connection in the bedroom and outside the bedroom, and not let a sexual dysfunction that is temporary, because porn-induced sexual dysfunctions are reversible, but not allow that sexual dysfunction to control the quality of your life or your relationship. And if you start to sense those negative feelings arising between you, whether he's feeling anxious or ashamed, or you're feeling like unwanted or unloved because he's not performing in the bedroom, bring that up, bring that to the surface. Don't let that fester inside. Open it up and try to understand that he wants you and he wants to perform for you and to be a full, complete sexual partner. But that's been taken from him temporarily. So be patient and understanding and supportive during that time. All right, let's move on to some tips for the rebooters within the relationship. Number 1 tip for porn addicts people with the porn problem within a relationship, is that you are responsible for your own recovery, all right? Like I was talking about before with that second tip for women in the relationship. Now I'm talking directly to you, Mr. Porn User, Mr. Rebooter. You have to participate in your own rescue. You have to be responsible for your own trajectory. You can rely on some support from those around you, but you got to walk the path and walk through each door along the way. You've got to take the responsibility to learn the skills and take new actions that will lead you to that porn-free life. And it's not about just willpower. You can't just hold on to that white knuckle willpower and fight your way through this. You need to learn some real tangible skills and really develop yourself along this journey to become porn-free. Now, how long that happens varies from guy to guy. Some guys can be free from sexual dysfunction and mostly free from urges and temptations within a few months. Some guys, it takes years of struggling and learning about themselves, learning about where these needs and cravings come from, and how to actually satisfy those needs in healthy ways rather than with porn. Sometimes it takes those guys years to reach that point where they are free. But no matter how long it takes, it is worth it. Don't give up on this. Don't lay the responsibility on somebody else. Accept that responsibility yourself. Now, this doesn't mean at all that these years are going to be wasted. These years or months or weeks or however long it takes you to leave these problems behind can be some of the best times of your life. Like I said before, the status of your penis or your sexual dysfunction or your addiction doesn't have to determine the quality of the rest of your life. Most of your time should be spent on what you can control, focusing on bringing in positive activities, relationships, passions, pursuits into your life. All right. Number 2, you should know that your understanding of love and what relationships are and what sex is completely warped, especially if you've been using pornography from a young age and were using it for a long time before ever having an intimate sexual experience. You don't really know yourself sexually, what you want in a relationship, what you want out of sex. You don't perhaps know what love really can feel like because you're desensitized by years of consistent pornography use. So you might see that use of porn right now, if you're at the beginning stages of your journey, as completely insulated, as something that you do by yourself, for yourself, because it feels good. It doesn't affect other parts of your life. It doesn't affect your relationship, except that your wife or your girlfriend feels hurt by it, and that's something that she should get over. Now, what you need to realize is that nothing happens in isolation in our lives. That usage of pornography is going to affect every other aspect of your life, especially if you've reached that point of being addicted to it and or having a sexual dysfunction. It's going to impact your ability to relate to others, to empathize, to feel ambition and motivation, to feel connection with others, and to connect romantically and sexually with your partner. So understand that for right now, you don't know who you are if you're still in the midst of this addiction. You're going to find out, which is a pretty exciting thing. But give it time, be patient with it, and allow those changes to happen. And with your partner, tell her all this. Make sure that she understands this is a process of self-discovery for you and for you both within that relationship. And if you feel like maybe this just isn't the relationship for you because you're not connecting sexually, that's where it's critical to understand that if you connect on other levels emotionally and you're really attracted to her in other ways, that the sexuality part of it is probably going to catch up after you've recovered for long enough. So don't make rash decisions about ending relationships just because you're not connecting sexually yet if you're still in the recovery period. All right. Last tip for those rebooters out there in a relationship is just to be honest with your partner about how you're feeling. I totally understand feeling like you don't want to share some of the pain that you have about your addiction or your sexual dysfunction. You don't want to share the insecurities that it has made you feel, because you want to appear strong. You want to appear like you've got it all together. You think that if you show your weakness that you'll be unattractive. That is something you should get over. As someone who held on to that notion for far too long and sabotaged many relationships because of it, I can tell you it's always going to be better to open up, allow yourself to be vulnerable, and talk with your partner about how you're feeling. And keep that conversation going. Don't just have it be one conversation like the sex talk that a lot of our parents had with us as children. Allow it to breathe and to evolve over the weeks and months. If you start to feel new feelings or old feelings, talk about them again. Talk it out. Shedding a light on those painful feelings that we feel inside can do so much just to air them out and allow them to dissipate. Don't let those secrets fester within your relationship and drive a wedge between you and your partner. Trust her by being vulnerable with her and sharing what's inside, and she will start to trust you and want to be there for you and support you because she recognizes how rare and how special it is for a guy to be able to be that courageous and honest and open up to her. All right? All right, one last super bonus tip for both partners in such a relationship is that you shouldn't just rely on each other for support during this time. You both need a wider community that you can rely on. For guys who are recovering, who are rebooting, it can be online. Find a forum like NoFap, Your Brain Rebalanced, Reboot Nation. Post your story, share, ask questions, answer questions from other guys. Find a community like that. Maybe you have friends who are also struggling with this. That's great. Maybe you have friends who have struggled with other addictions who might understand. Talk this out. Don't keep it a dark secret personally for yourself, like with the last tip, but also don't keep it a secret within your relationship. You both need support outside of that relationship. For the women, find friends, mentors who you can talk to about this, so you can explain about what's going on and air your feelings and get some support from friends outside that relationship, because you can't just rely on each other during this time. We're social, communal beings. We need a network. We need a social network that can support us and lift us up. All right? So don't just keep it a dark secret within your relationship. I know it's tempting, especially in certain subsets of our society where sexuality itself is a hard thing to talk about, but it's going to be so much better for your healing process to have that support, to be able to talk about this with others. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. I actually released yesterday, depending on when this video comes out, a new episode of my podcast, Love People Use Things, that also covers this topic. So if you want to hear me go into more depth, I answered 3 email letters from women in varying types of relationships with porn addicts and talk a lot more about this subject. So go check that out, lovepeopleusethings.fm, also available on a lot of the podcast platforms that you might already use. And if you ever want to get my personal help and guidance, you can find ways to work with me, addictedtointernetporn.com. And my prices, by the way, for coaching are raising. Friday, September 21st is going to be the last day at the current price. And this price is the same that it's been since I started as a coach. It's very low compared to industry standard, but I wanted it to be available to everyone. But now I've gotten a lot more demand and I'm a much better coach, honestly. So prices are going up a bit. So if you'd like to get coaching and book something before that, just make sure you do so before Friday, September 21st. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful PMO-free day. I'll see you next time.